Tonight, we are joined by an author who has spent his career examining the power and limits of the written word. Our guest is Nicholas Yong. For more than 15 years, Nicholas was a journalist and editor, specializing in political analysis and in-depth long-form news features. Now, he uses that keen journalistic eye, that search for the actual incident, to explore the hidden tensions of the city-state through fiction. His latest work is a collection of 10 short stories, 7 Sacks of Rice and Other Baggage. Nicholas calls his work faction, as it blends stories inspired by true events and personal family history with traditional folk tales and persistent urban legends. From the haunting mysteries of city life to the weight of inherited trauma, this book explores the things we carry. It challenges the reader to decide which tales are fact and which are simply stories we wish were true.
So they actually formed a chicken task force.
Oh gosh.
Right? There's details about, we've put nets, we've got people to collect these chicken eggs so they don't reproduce. And then and then the story was just reported very straightforward, very straight. And I'm like, why are there no puns about chickens in this story? Why is no foul play? Don't count your eggs before they hatch, that kind of thing. So I wrote Chicken Task Force kind of like as a parody of the COVID task force.
Before we begin the show, here is an important announcement. For 100 years, Shure has set the standard for professional audio. Designed to outlast and outperform, Shure products help you deliver your message with confidence. Trust in Shure. You can be sure with Shure. Shop the Shure Shop Singapore now. Visit the link on screen and use the promo code AFC Henson to get limited Shure merchandise with your purchases. Now, let's start the show. Hi everybody, welcome back to this episode of the Chris Hansen Conversation. We are still on Ink Spill. As a matter of fact, this will be the final episode of our series Ink Spill, where we spill the ink on some good literary works coming out of our local authors, writers, poets, even graphic animation specialists, experts, blah, blah, blah. Yeah? So to give these guys a little edge, just a little edge, and to encourage you, the viewer, the listener, please books are still better okay? Okay, so stop scrolling up and down your damn screens, unless you're watching me, that is. And just pick up a good book and read. And this is one good book that we would like to recommend to you on this episode and on the final episode of Ink Spill once again. And I have with me in studio author of the book, 7 Sacks of Rice. Wow. I'm going to get my tongue going. 7 Sacks of Rice and Other Baggages. And he is Nicholas Yong. Welcome to the studio, Nicholas.
Thank you for having me.
Not at all. Hey, chill bro. Chill a little bit. This is a conversation, man. This is a chill out show. We normally don't take ourselves very seriously. We're going to talk about you first before we head to the book. Okay? 15 years you worked as a journalist.
Next year is going to be 20 years, man.
Oh, crap. Really? My research is bad then.
I worked I started out at MediaCorp Radio.
Ouch.
Then for not very long. Then I went on to the Straits Times.
Ouch. Double ouch.
One of the people who hired me was a certain, might know her.
I'm pretty sure I know her, yeah.
I think her name's Bertha.
Triple ouch. Okay.
Yeah, so, I was there for quite a long time. Then my longest stay was at Yahoo News. I was there for almost a decade.
Wow.
Yeah. Then I went on to the BBC, and currently I'm freelancing, but I'm doing a contract role at right now at the News Storm. They've combined with the new paper.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Oh man, you're at Stomp, huh?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I better not say too much.
Oh boy. Let me have a swig of water first. Stomp. I mean, why did you? I'm sorry, I just have to do this. Why did you leave the BBC? I mean, it's like the place to be, isn't it?
I think better not say too much about that.
Oh really? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just like that, But I mean, I've been in journalism for so long, I think I'm dyed in the wool, right? So, You know, a lot of times people would ask, well, why didn't you go on to work in comms lah? And it's something I can't do. You know, I mean, going back to Bertha, right? So I think my formative years were at ST under like supervisors like her and Dominic Nathan, and I don't know whether you know these names now.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
So you know, I think that's why that was my training ground as a journalist, and you know, it's I mean right now I train like young writers and reporters, right, who didn't come from a journalism background. So I mean I tell them, you know, from my point of view, I see it as a vocation, as a calling. Right? And not everybody has a temperament for it, and that's fine. I tell them, like, you know, you have to figure out how far you're prepared to push, you know, whether this job is for you or not.
Yeah.
And it can be, I mean, I've known a lot of good reporters along the way who left because they kind of got burned out. They didn't like certain aspects of the job. You know, they were good at it, but they didn't like certain things about it.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and you know, they've gone on to really good careers in other things, you know, and you know, we're still in touch. They're my friends and all. I want to kind of like, when I look back now, I realize I'm one of the last men standing.
Okay.
And it's not a matter of, you know, like, you know, it's not about self-praise. It's not about, oh, look at me, I lasted. It's not about that. It's just that it's something that I want to stay with, you know, journalist for life.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, I have my only sibling who's, as you mentioned her name, but I can completely understand where you're coming from. So you worked as a journalist and you spent years, did you spend a good number of years at the political desk?
No, I was actually at, so you're talking about Straits Times.
Yeah.
I was largely at Life.
Oh, in Life, okay.
Yeah.
So you report factual events anyway, right? As a reporter, obviously you chase after the newsmaker, you get factual events, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, broadly speaking.
Well, I mean, I guess nowadays people, what facts are in dispute quite a bit.
Yeah. Okay. Let's not go into that direction. There's a different story altogether. But let's get back to this. What made you decide that fiction was a necessary tool to tell these short stories specifically, rather than sticking to pure non-fiction?
You know,
because the book is a series of short stories.
Yeah. So in this case, you know, like it's a series of short stories based on true stories.
Yeah.
Quite a bit of it is drawn from the newsroom, the various newsrooms where I worked.
Okay.
Some of it is about my family history. Some of it is stories that people have told me, and then I put a fictional spin on it.
Right.
So, you know, one thing that I've always hated is when an editor comes to me, right, and says, can you ask so and so if he can say this? And I'm always like, no, because he or she didn't say it, right? You know, I can't just make shit up, you know, for a news story.
Do you have a newsmaker craft a narrative?
As in, you know, sometimes they might
or lead them into crafting a narrative instead.
I guess you could say
what
that.
You're saying?
I guess you could say that in a sense that like sometimes the editor might be looking for a particular quote.
Right.
You say, can you ask him if he can say this? Like, can you get him to say this? Then I'm like, no.
Okay.
But so, you know, I say I can't just make shit up, lah.
Yeah.
But when it comes to fiction, I can make shit up.
Okay.
Right. So, so as I say, I put a fictional spin on a lot of these stories, right? And then, you know, I mean, as we all know, in real life, things are often unsatisfactory. You don't have a happy ending. You don't have a satisfactory ending. But in the world of fiction, that's the beauty of it, right? I mean, you can come up with any ending you want.
You can fantasize an ending.
Yeah. So it's like, so in fiction, it's about world building.
Yeah,
right?
okay.
Whether you're talking about a contemporary setting, or you're talking about, I have a story based on a Korean folktale, right? So I'm building that world, or you're talking about the inner life of a person. So that is the challenge, right? It's not like with journalism, like, oh, you need to file your copy by this time, right? And you can't make excuses. You're like, well, copy editor's waiting, the sub is waiting, you know, like we gotta, you know, competition is on the story. We gotta get it going, man. You gotta upload it now. Whereas with fiction, I think the more time you take to craft it, the better it becomes. Yeah.
You give it more depth to the story because you take the time to give it depth. isn't it? Am I right to say that?
In fact, I mean, I started out at a time in journalism in like 2006.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a time when, you could actually take your time to craft that story, and then it comes out the next day, right?
Yeah, yeah.
These days, no such thing. Like, internet's not going to wait for you, man.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, times have changed, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right. Everyone's releasing stories faster than anything else.
Yeah, and then it leads to, a lot of errors.
Yeah. Okay. So is that the reason why your book's inspired by true stories, somewhat true stories, and stories that we wish were true? Because you said just now, stories that you can tell because it's your own history in one of your stories, your own family history. That's certainly true.
Yeah.
Am I right? Okay.
Yeah.
Then other people's stories, which we can't tell whether it's true and also somewhat true.
Okay. So I have a story about it's called the Other Family, right?
Okay.
So it's about a girl from her teen years who could see an entire other family in her flat, the site, right?
Ghostly family.
Yes. So this was told to me by a friend, and she only mentioned it in passing, right? And then I thought, you know what, this could be a great short story. And so I actually went to interview her, right? And she started telling me very specific incidents that happened, right? And because my first thought was, well, she was a kid, flights of fancy, right?
So she was a kid at the time.
Yes.
Okay.
And then so from her kid into her teen years. And then, so I thought, well, kids imagine a lot of things, right? Imaginary friends, this sort of thing. But then she started citing these very specific incidents, right? And then you start to think, well, okay, she's not making this up. This really happened. So, in real life, she said it kind of just faded away, and she and her family moved away from that flat. And then I thought,
the family knew about this. Her family knew about this.
Yes. Yeah. So, but she was the only one who could see them.
Right. But they took her seriously. Sorry, man, you got me started.
that one I'm not too sure. But then in terms of fiction, right?
Yeah.
I thought this will make a great story. Right. So in real life, they kind of moved away from the flat, and that was it.
Yeah.
But in my story, I come up with a different ending. Okay. Right. So So that's why I say somewhat true. Yeah. And then also other things so there was a news report about a coffin that was found floating in the Kallang River.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So and then in real life, what happened was that someone had been hired. There was actually the outer the casing, right? Because a body was repatriated. Right. So it was used to contain the coffin. So this dude was hired to get rid of it. So he was like, I'll just dump it in the river. Okay. Right. So he cannot find and all that. So but then I thought, what if there really was a body in a coffin, right, floating down the Singapore River?
So this was somewhat based on fact.
Somewhat. Somewhat.
Okay, I get what you mean now.
Yeah.
All right, that's quite kind of fun.
Yeah. So things like that. Yeah.
Okay. So there was an actual incident at the heart of it. So when you get all your stories, your source actually comes from sometimes real news. Or people who know people who told you about someone and something that's happened, and you chase after it. Yeah. And then you fictionalize the whole thing.
Yeah, because in journalism, right, especially you do court stories, you range from the horrendous to the just what? How did this happen? Right? You hear all these kinds of things, and then sometimes there's no resolution. You think, well, so and so was fine, so and so was arrested, but what happened to them in the end? Exactly. Right. So I drew a lot of inspiration from headlines or incidents, and then I thought, okay, how can I make a story out of this?
Right. Yeah. When these days, I think it's worse. In my opinion. Strangely, I just came from my mom's home. And Bertha lives with our mom, and we celebrated her little birthday party for her. And we were just talking over the lunch table about, I was saying, how is it these days? It does seem to me that journalists or reporters no longer chase after newsmakers. Oh, and I give you okay. Sometimes I understand if it's a crime and the person's been charged, right, for that crime, and it's sub judice and it's already in court, so you can't really talk about it. But at the heat of the moment, when something has already occurred, that would be the opportune time to chase after newsmakers, to chase after witnesses, to chase after everything. Because whatever we read today seems to stop short of something. Like this guy allegedly killed that guy,
Mm-hmm.
and it happened in a prominent place, and there were screams heard coming from a woman. Yeah, I'm not going to really go into details, the finite details, otherwise I will be committing subjudice. And then the cops came, the guy got arrested. Eventually, he wasn't charged yet. Of course, it just happened, right? And I don't know whether any reporter ran down. And
Mm-hmm.
reporter ran down. What they could have done was to chase after who was the woman who screamed. Where were the witnesses? How is this person related to the other guy? How was the assailant related to the other guy? And there was nothing like that. So you don't draw any kind of conclusions. It really becomes like somewhat true, don't know, because we don't have enough facts to draw to any kind of conclusion.
Well, I can't really speak to why that is now. I think a lot of it depends on your editors and your supervisors.
Uh-huh.
But what I will say is that something that I try to get across to the younger ones that I supervise now, that you really need a thick skin, right? I mean, just the other day there was I won't go into detail. There was an incident where I think one of the younger ones got a bit scared, and then I told them, your role as a reporter is to find information, and there will always be people who try to stop you from getting the information for whatever reason. So I said, don't be intimidated, stand your ground, stay calm, and grow a thick skin.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean the incident, the situation you mentioned just now, it really does take a thick skin to go into, a crime scene, and then just kind of really get in people's faces and ask them those questions. Now, I was not a crime reporter, but I knew some really good ones, and they were really like, I mean, the skin is so thick.
No, I've met some really good ones too from one of the days when my sister was still working there. And I've seen one or two in action, crime reporters. I'm just picking crime just as one example. It doesn't have to necessarily mean that it's limited to just crime stories. Just since we're talking about that coffin floating down the river, and you brought it up, crime reporting, right? So since we're on that particular specific topic, I might as well just whack on that one instead. I've seen people crime reporters go to wakes of the victim.
Yeah, I've done that.
And they move around table to table, sitting down, blending into the crowd, building a little rapport, getting information out. And I think that's brilliant. Is that happening today? I don't know.
I've done that a few times.
That's you.
But I again, I should qualify. I'm not a crime reporter. I haven't done it very often. Right. So it is a very intimidating kind of venue, right? So some people will tell you to get lost. Some people might be begrudging and like tolerate your presence.
Sure.
Others, actually kind of welcome you. So I mean, like, well, this is years ago at ST, right? So there was a food poisoning incident at the Geylang Serai temporary market.
Okay.
It just blew up and blew up and blew up. Like 100 people got food poisoning.
Right.
Then it was suddenly, one person has died. Then suddenly 2 people have died. Like, wow, it blew up, right?
Yeah.
So I was one of the reporters on it, and then I did go to a wake. And I was quite nervous my first time there. And the family actually welcomed us. They said, "Thank you for covering this story. We want to know how our sister died. We hope that you will chase this story." So they actually shared the death cert and everything. So I was kind of surprised. But I've also been in other situations where the families are like, "Nope, go away. Don't want to talk to you," and that's perfectly fine, right? So, it really does take a thick skin, like to.
Right.
But you have to be very respectful and considerate, and these are people who have lost a family member. Right?
Sure.
They're really not obliged to talk to you.
Sure.
So,
certain amount of empathy has got to be exercised anyway.
I don't think you can be a good reporter without empathy,
Of course.
and I don't think you can be a good storyteller without empathy.
Correct. So when you tell your story, see, being in the position you've been, is a very nice, cushy position. Pardon me using the word cushy loosely.
Why cushy?
But it's a cushy position because the nature of reportage, right, allows you to also collate all kinds of real, non-fiction, factual stuff that happened, And with an imagination, you can always craft a nice fiction story.
Oh, you mean cushy in terms of
Getting information, getting sources, you know.
Oh, okay.
There is a skeleton to every story you write. Yeah. So I think it's a great space to be. Let's talk about the title story, Seven Sacks of Rice. It's a real event in your family history. How do you determine this specific personal ancestral story that should be the foundation of your entire collection of short stories in this book?
Because, so let me just tell it very briefly. My grandmother, back in the 1950s, when she was in China, at the time she only had daughters. So, I mean, as you know, in East Asian cultures, sons are very important.
Yeah.
So she bought a 4-year-old boy from another family for 7 sacks of rice. And,
this is true.
Yes. This one is true. Yeah. So like,
for 7 sacks of rice in China.
Yeah, in China, in Shantou.
Okay.
So the thing is that, we've heard a lot of these stories, right? Even back in the 60s and 70s, there are families that gave children away because they couldn't afford to feed them.
No. That's not just the only reason if you don't know. Do you know any other reason besides that? Besides poverty? I can tell you.
Yeah, okay. Because they weren't boys?
Well, no. This is even worse. This is based on numerology or feng shui.
Right, okay.
And that this child is not good for you in your house. You bad things will happen. You need to give away the kid to your sister, your brother, and let them raise this kid as their own. The kid usually grows up knowing that the parents that raised him or her are not the natural parents. And they actually know that uncle and auntie so-and-so are his or her natural parents.
Wow. Okay.
And they do that because and it's prevalent also, especially amongst the Peranakan community.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so they give away children based on that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not just based on poverty, man. I know of this personally as well.
So, I mean, the tragedy of it is that you would think...
it's your fault.
No, I mean, the tragedy of it, this thing about children being sold or children being given away.
Yeah.
You would think, it's the 21st century, it doesn't happen. Not true. It happens quite a bit in South Asia, in Central Asia.
Really?
Yeah, it still does. Still for all kinds of reasons.
But I don't hear this story here in Singapore as much. Kai, we were just talking about something like this, weren't we?
I can't recall.
No, just now when we were coming back upstairs. Yeah?
Regarding what?
Parents who give away their children.
Oh.
I'm not going to go into specifics.
All right.
Yeah? And we were just talking about something like that. And is it as prevalent today in Singapore? Do you think? Do you know?
Oh, I don't know if you can actually do that nowadays, but I mean, you were asking me why I put this story at the heart of the collection. Is that this has been part of our family folklore for, ever since I was born, because we always knew we had an uncle who was adopted, but he rejected the family from a very young age because he knew that he was adopted. And then I would just hear stories from my aunties or my mother about, hey, we saw so-and-so today and he's working these odd jobs. And then like the next time you go there, he's gone, right? Because he doesn't want to have anything to do with the family.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd always known about this incident. And then one day, my mother told me something, right? And I wouldn't say what it is because it kind of gives away a key part of the story.
Sure.
So she said that she told me that she actually played a big part in this particular story. She was the same age as this uncle at the time, 4 years old. And then I had a shock. I said, you never told me this. So I started asking her for more and more details, and I talked to my auntie as well. My grandparents are long gone. 2 of my aunties have also passed on. So there's not a lot of people to check with to verify the facts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but again, this is why I say I put a fictional spin on it. And when I was talking to my mother, she said it a lot. Your grandmother had a very hard life, and I used to go to my grandmother's place when I was very young all the time. Right, I meet with my cousins, I meet my uncles and aunties. So I have very fond memories of my grandmother, but I didn't really know her well. Like I'm Teochew on my mother's side. My Teochew is like 6:30 lah. So we never really had like in-depth conversations. But when my mother started telling me all these details about my grandmother, then I really started to get a real sense of what she was like as a person, and in that time period, right? Those kind of pressures that, well, you're the wife, you got to produce a baby son, right?
Yeah.
Baby boy. If you're not, well, there's something wrong with you. You've let down the family, and I mean, even though biologically we know it's actually the man's fault, if you can't get a boy. Yeah. So, So in writing this story, it was something very personal to me, and then it's why I started to get this idea. Look, what I do a collection of true stories, right? Short stories based on true stories. Yeah.
Okay. A story like that, 7 Sacks of Rice by a boy, because you have to give us a boy, you need to produce a boy, and the pressure, social pressure you receive at that time, to produce a boy, and then therefore you adopt one. This is a baggage, right?
Yeah, very much so.
Now, do you think that kind of baggage still exists amongst families and people in Singapore today? For example, you don't have to go that far. Maybe not in terms of, I must get a boy or whatever. I think it's worse when you have young people get married and don't have children and get pressure all the time during Chinese New Year. So when are you going to get a baby? When are you going to have a baby? When do you have a baby? Or even women who have had multiple miscarriages try so hard to get babies, and they're also under a lot of pressure. So I think it's still relatable today, isn't it? This story may be an old story, but
I think it really depends on the kind of family that you're from and the kind of family that your partner is from. Right? So like, I think everybody has their own baggage that they bring into a relationship, right? And then, well, not just a relationship, but I think I'm old enough by now to realize that sometimes when I see people at work behaving in a certain way, right? And most people will just say, why is he like that? But then when you think deeply about it, there must be something deeper, right? And very often that kind of baggage comes from your childhood, your family experiences, and you bring all of that into that family situation, like, and there's all these like kind of unspoken expectations, and then all these thoughts of, well, why isn't he doing this? Why isn't she doing this? But when you think about it, well, this doesn't make much sense. Why should he or she be expected to do that, right? And then, in terms of having children, so the government's constantly telling us to have children, right? And then like giving all these baby bonuses, but then I wonder how much thought it goes into, well, what about the ecosystem around parents, right? Childcare, parental leave, the cost of education. Like, these are all the things that deter people, right? I mean, it's not enough that, here's like 10,000, go and have a kid.
Pressure of education.
10,000 gone in like 2 years, bro. It's like, or maybe less than that. So, yeah. And then,
but I can tell you, based on, I'm not saying it's prevalent, just because of what I'm about to say. But based on my own personal experiences over the years, I'm 55 years old, nothing to hide. I can assure you, including myself, my own family nucleus, my family didn't really give us that much pressure, but we lost 3 kids along the way.
Oh, wow.
And in the end, we almost gave up until I had my son, who's 16 today. Yeah. And over the time, I tell you, sometimes there are other women outside of even family who would mock at other women for either being a single mom or not being able to have a kid. And I can tell you, it exists. It exists. So yeah, I mean, the reason why I brought that up is because I think no matter what, whether we can look at it as being an archaic, old, antique story, that happened in China many, many years ago, but it takes on different shapes and forms in modern day society, it could. And I think, in my opinion, it has.
Well, it makes great fodder for fiction.
Yeah. It does. Which brings me to this point. You wrote a collection of short stories instead of a novel. You can actually weave all that into one fantastic freaking story, one bloody thick freaking novel, right? Why short story?
Novel very hard lah.
Huh? Why? Okay, wait.
You know-
wait. I'm a noob, okay? Explain to me. I'm not, no, I said this before just last week to two other writers in this studio.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it again today. Not every Henson's a Bertha. Okay, so and I'm saying it again still. I can't believe it. My only claim to fame is that little piece I contributed to Felix Yong's book. That's about the size of it. So I want to understand from writers, not just Bertha, everyone I know or I can meet like you along the way. Explain to me, do you think if you were to weave it into a novel, it'll probably maybe be more exciting reading? A thicker book put out there on the shelves can fly off easily? I don't know.
Well,
You school me.
whether a book sells well very often depends on the kind of marketing and the narrative around it, I think.
Yeah,
And also
okay.
the kind of the personality of the author and all that. I did, my first book was a novella. It was about zombies in Singapore.
Another one.
Yeah. So I have to admit,
Yeah.
it wasn't great.
Okay.
And writing it was, I think, really painful, man, because you have to keep a narrative consistent over something like 50,000 words.
Right.
Right. And then I took some advice from people who actually done like TV series, right? And then they call it the Bible, right? So in the sense of like, let's say your character ABC.
Yeah.
And then there's a whole Bible about, well, character A is like this and this and this and this. Character
Right.
B is like this and this. So like you know to be consistent, right? Like if a character is an angry person, he should be consistently angry, right?
Right.
This sort of thing. So I only had 3 main characters, and already I found it like so difficult to keep that consistent
characteristics of each.
Yeah, and then like I would have to reread, and then
Right.
like and there's a lot of editing. And then like, so I mean, at least from my point of view, when I do a short story, I find it more satisfying because it's what as the term suggests, like, it's a short story, right? I mean, even something like as interesting as a coffin floating down the river, like it's like you want to keep the story interesting over 50,000 words. It's like, well, you got to put in a lot more work, man. Now, not to say that writing short stories is easy,
Right.
but I feel like as a writer, I'm built better at writing short stories.
So you acknowledge and realize that this is your forte then.
Yeah, I mean, but you know, like there were I had seen quite a number of people have told me, or I've seen some comments on Goodreads and whatever. They're like, why do the stories end so abruptly? You know, like I want a more of a satisfying payoff. You know, like, but I mean, to me, it's kind of like sound like short and sharp, right? I come up with this narrative, and then it has to have a definite ending there. So yeah, I mean, I really enjoy the short story form. Will I ever try and write a novel? Right? Depends. You know, I have to think very deeply about it.
Okay. Let's talk about some of your stories.
Yeah.
We've already talked about 7 Sacks of Rice, which is your family story. You brought up about the coffin floating down the river. You talked about the girl that, seeing the other family, the ghostly family in the HDB flat. The Queen of Heaven. Can you discuss what specific real life incident was there when this is concerned? Is it a real life incident, cultural figure, or traditional reference?
I kind of made up that story, and then I mean the in terms of the truthful aspect of it is very tenuous. It's just that I took a trip to Taichung, and then I really like the temples that I saw, and this
Taichung, Taiwan.
Yeah, Taichung in Taiwan. Yeah. So then it's a very old trope, right? A man falling in love with a ghost, right?
Okay.
So you remember that classic movie, like Hong Kong movie, A Chinese Ghost Story?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I was thinking of things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was thinking
that's not the PG. That's not the RA one, right? No.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of sexy time in it, lah. But it's not exactly RA. But
It's like Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore's Ghost.
I would say it's sexier than that. But anyway,
Okay.
yeah, it's Sweetheart, right? So who is like
It's Sweetheart. Okay.
one of those
okay.
groundbreaking Hong Kong directors.
Yeah, Sweetheart.
So, I was thinking of things like that. I was thinking of, all the ghost stories you hear as a kid from Chinese culture, right? And then I was bringing all of those things to bear when I wrote this story. Parts of it are true. I mean, this actual temple where there was like a rebellion in Taiwan, right? Or rather, there was an attempted rebellion against the Ming Dynasty. And this dude like fled to Taiwan. He was about to, he was going to be overtaken, right? And then he and his 5 concubines killed themselves. So I had this idea that one of the concubines is the youngest, right? And then she never wanted to die. She was still waiting to have a whole life, and then hundreds of years later, she's still at that temple, and then a guy encounters her. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So she never left that spot, lah.
That was my idea.
She haunts that place. Lah.
Yeah,
That's the idea, lah.
well, I mean,
Okay.
you hear these stories all the time, right? So
Yeah,
I mean, even here, like the old Changi Hospital, Tekong Camp, is it Camp 1 or Camp 2? So that
Camp 1. Lah.
yeah, that particular door and the kind of thing.
Oh,
like that.
Charlie Company, the 3 doors.
Yes. So like,
You should hear my story about that.
oh really? Okay. I mean, I love urban legends, right? And there's always some kind of truth to it. So in this case, it was like I visited this temple, and then years later, it was actually first included in Felix Chong's collection of love stories, because he asked me like, do you have anything to contribute?
Right.
So I thought about that and I wrote that lah.
Right.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I love folktales. I love urban legends.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I love urban legends, not so much folk tales. But
Yeah.
urban legends I enjoy quite a lot. The story titled Mr. Kim.
Yes. You know what? That is based on an anecdote.
Uh-huh.
So because it was during COVID,
Yeah.
right? And then I'm going to get a tattoo, as you do, right? And then this,
As we do.
yeah. So it's actually in someone's flat.
Right.
And then it was kind of like a studio, like different artists would come in.
Okay.
Right. So I was getting a tattoo of my pet dog, and then like, so the artist was working on me, and then there's another artist, and then started going about, hey, so and so, you remember he tattooed this Korean guy? Oh yeah. Then he's blah 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 blah. It turns out it was so and so. Then I was like, wait, what? Tell me this again. Like,
It was a famous name.
yes, a very famous name. Then I was like, what? And then I went to do some research. I said, yeah, this dude has come to Singapore, right? And then this particular fellow is he goes far and wide, right? And then he has a particular reputation. He hangs out with a certain crowd, right? So I started asking for details. I actually first thought of it as a news story, but then I thought, this is impossible to verify. And then like, so I managed to get some details from this fella. The artist was actually his friend. And I think he kind of basically stopped talking to me. Like cause I did say I was interested in interviewing him. I think I guess he didn't want to be interviewed. I mean, I wouldn't say the names of these artists. Right?
Of course, yeah.
So I thought, you know what? I'm going to do a fiction story. Right. So then I actually talked to other tattoo artists who like were telling me like, a tattoo artist is almost like a priest, right? Or like a bartender, right? People come in and have these confessionals, right? And then like, like I was talking to a guy, he's the husband of a friend of a friend. So he was saying you get things like, people come in and start talking. Oh, my father used to chain me to the toilet. Yeah, while he's doing the tattoo. And then it's like, wait, what? Oh. So, these very personal stories come out, right? And then, so in terms of this very particular famous Mr. Kim, right? I thought, you know what? I'm going to do a story out of that.
Okay. This is how the origin of the story actually came from something you've heard about, lah.
And it was, it was like second hand, but
Yeah.
I mean, it sounded credible to me, lah. Because
Okay.
there were these very particular details you give, like, Mr. Kim had like bags of cash, stacks of cash.
And he
like,
comes and walks around with an entourage.
yeah, and he's like, how much is it today? Then he just peels out this cash. It's like, what?
What's the moral of the story for this? What's the baggage there, man?
Baggage. I mean, the baggage would be the people who come in and like why do they get tattoos, right? Like I mean then because like somebody was telling me that this is in the story lah. So this artist told me that somebody came in and like I want to tattoo my wife's IC number on my chest. Then I was like,
No.
So I asked the artist lah, do you you know when people come in and they come in late at night and then they're often drunk or what, right? So like I said, do you try to dissuade them? He said, that's not my job, man.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I don't know. I'm not going to mention the name of the studio, but it's a very, 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 very famous one. When the ships come into town, they definitely go there.
I think I know that one.
The one in Far East Plaza.
I know that one. Yeah.
And the famous guy that's there, right, comes up with, he has this rule. If you want a portrait of a family member inked on you, and that family member is still around, he won't do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He has a rule. And as a matter of fact, that rule goes across this entire studio. None of his artists are allowed.
What's the reason?
Because pantang.
Ah, okay.
If they're still around and you have it you having them memorialized on your skin, and the people are still here, and he just doesn't want it. He doesn't allow that to happen. I know a lot of studios actually just go ahead and get it done. Yeah, I know of friends and all that. No disrespect or judging what they've done. They've had it done elsewhere. Yeah, but this particular one they won't do. It's not like personally I wouldn't. I mean, I'm an inked guy, but personally I wouldn't do it either.
Well, I mean, my dog is still very much alive and well.
Yeah, okay.
It was kind of like that sense of like, I know that our time with her is limited.
Yeah.
Right. So, but I want her to be with me forever.
Yeah.
And one day she will go, and it will be very, very painful. So, but even while she's around, I want her to be with me always. Yeah.
I understand that completely. Believe me. Yeah. I've lost the last one I've had.
Right.
And it wasn't just heartbreaking, it was shattering.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was terrible. Really. Yeah, I understand. I know where you're coming from. But as a dog, different.
Well, then the question will be, do dogs have souls, right?
I would think well, I mean, I'm going to have some people who would actually, probably give me the finger with what I'm about to say. I should think, why not?
Mm-hmm. I
think, even though I'm Catholic, I would say that everything that is of God's creation is loved by God. So, and I do think so because I've had my encounters.
Wow.
Yeah, with my last one. Yeah. Believe it or not. And I know for a fact that he is around when we need him around.
Wow.
Even when we don't know we need him, he's around. So it's so it's kind of interesting. Chicken Task Force.
You know what? Do you know that is a real thing? That is an actual thing.
Okay.
Because okay. So a bit of background here.
Yeah.
So I was at Yahoo News when COVID started.
Okay.
And then I covered COVID for a good 2 years, and then so I must have gone to maybe 75-80% of all the COVID task force press conferences.
The interministerial task force, yeah.
Yeah. So the multi-ministry task force, right? So then fronted by Lawrence Wong and Ong Yi Kang.
Yeah.
And the thing was that, so Bertha can also tell you this, right? For ministers to have regular press conferences with both local and foreign media is extremely rare. Other than COVID, I'm trying to recall when was the last time they did this sort of thing on a regular basis. I don't know. Maybe Bertha might know. Mm-hmm. So the thing was that, so I covered it so many times, right? And then of course, it left a very deep impression on me. Now, the Chicken Task Force is an actual thing because it was somewhere in Bishan, right? And there were this surfeit of chickens who making a lot of noise and causing, like, as they call it, disamenities, whatever that means lah. So and then the government, you can find the Straits Times story in it. So they actually formed a chicken task force.
Oh gosh.
Right, and then there's details about, well, we've put nets, we've got people to collect these chicken eggs so they don't reproduce, and then it was like, and then the story was just reported very straightforward, very straight, and I'm like, why are there no puns about chickens in this story? Why is no foul play? Don't count your eggs before they hatch, that kind of thing. So I wrote Chicken Task Force kind of like as a parody of the COVID task force, because I think we do have a very efficient civil service, right? But
bureaucratic as hell.
I've seen worse in other countries, man. But but the civil service is kind of ripe for satire, right? Because all these bureaucratic processes, and then they invent their own words like inputs.
Yeah.
So I wrote it as a spoof of the COVID task force, and then there are some incidents in there, right, where kind of like the reporter kind of confronts the newsmaker.
Right.
Those things actually happen.
Right.
But not in COVID. I saw them for myself. Right? So I included that in the story.
But funny you should mention that, because I have been on this tirade about this chicken thing.
Oh yeah.
On my socials.
Make a lot of noises.
No, I am against people who want to have them removed.
Okay.
Because come on, it's ridiculous lah. We got people complaining about just practically about everything, and I really don't think we need to have a fucking task force for everything lah. We look at chicken. I got this white, lovely chicken.
Is it a Polish,
it's a hen.
Is it a Polish chicken?
I don't know what freaking chicken it is. There's such a thing.
Because
Polish chicken and all that.
There was a dude, right, they interviewed him, and he was breeding like Polish chickens in his flat.
Right.
And I can't remember whether he was selling them, because there was a period when it became fashionable to have a Polish chicken as a pet. If you Google them, right, they do look quite unusual.
You mean they look furry that time?
They have this sort of weird comb on top.
Oh, yeah.
If you Google it, you see the picture.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. I've got several chicken things, man, that has happened that I just cannot stomach. There's a guy. Okay, first of all, the white lovely hen that's around Bedok North Avenue 2. Yeah. I see it all the time in a nearby coffee shop. It's been there since it was a chick. The people around it, the regulars at the kopitiam, seen it grow. They also, sometimes give it some food to eat and all that. And it grew. And it's always around, Then one day, after months and months, I bring my mom there for acupuncture. So I see this chicken. So we've been going there for about coming 2 years already. I bring my mom once a week to just go there. And we have coffee. Then I always, I go have a cigarette somewhere, and then the chicken's always around me, and it's kind of cool. I have a couple of chats with that chicken. Then one fine day, it disappeared. Then I came back the following week, still wasn't around. Came back the following week, then I met some of the regulars at that coffee shop, and I asked, what happened to that chicken? Or NEA came to take it away. And I went, what? Why? Complaints. What? Why? Clucking too much. It doesn't crow, it's a freaking hen. Clucking. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Then never mind. Where I live, we have this lovely garden, and they grow all kinds of stuff. And they used to have a coop. And in that coop, there are about 3-4 very unusual types of chicken. And they are so cute, But yeah, of course they crow. Neighborhood people living around, they complain about the crowing.
I like to tell people that, there's always a lot written about, Singapore's not very democratic, and they don't, there's not enough civil liberties and all that. But in some ways, we are incredibly democratic, because like one complaint, right, is enough to set an agency in motion.
Yeah.
Like what? Oh, okay, that was fast.
Well, I give you some more fodder, man. Here's one more about chicken, Last one. Around this neighborhood, there's this guy. And when I moved in here not long ago, I noticed him because when he rides his bicycle, his chicken is on the handlebar, standing proudly. It's a rooster, right? And it's such a sight to see, and he loves that chicken. One day, it came out in the papers. It was reported. His chicken went missing.
Oh.
Right? About a couple of days after he noticed his chicken went missing, somebody left nicely on some cloth where the chicken used to be in that cage. Bones.
Oh my God. Ayo.
And he was heartbroken because he's a single man. He's not young. He's reared that chicken since it was a chick. It became his best friend. And I just think the asshole that did this, I better not say anymore, otherwise I get arrested. But I just think that it is just ridiculous. And why are people like this? You know, pickleball is the latest thing I've been bitching about this entire season.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, come on, give it a rest. If you live in a private estate, in a condo with tennis courts, it's a lot louder than the pickleball. But you stand there and enjoy the games. If I used to have that, I used to stand in my balcony in my condo. I had 4 tennis courts in front of me, and I just enjoy the matches. Live and let live. I mean, come on. We complain about chickens crowing, and I've even heard about people complaining about birds squawking.
I gotta say this one thing. So my sister-in-law is from China.
Yeah.
Now she's a citizen now.
Right.
And I remember after she went through her ceremony, I told her, you know, now that you're a Singaporean, you must learn how to complain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're not a true Singaporean.
Oh man. This complaint culture. If you talk about baggage, I mean, we got one huge freaking one on the backs of practically all of us. And that's a KPKB baggage.
Oh, well.
Yeah, man.
It's in our nature. La.
Oh man, shucks. Okay. When you're writing stories, it completely mix fact and fantasy. Is your aim simply to entertain? Or do you hope to change the way readers look at specific everyday places or common events in Singapore?
Well, I think, you know, I mean, first and foremost, it's about crafting an interesting story.
Right.
Right. So I mean, it's very similar with news, right?
Yeah.
It starts with the headline. It's got to have an arresting headline that grabs people's attention.
Okay.
And then, you know, it's got to be worth your while, right? So, you know, one thing I always tell the young reporters is that question, so what, right?
Mm-hmm.
When a reader sees your headline, the question will be, well, so what? Why should I click on it? Why should I read it? Why should I read it till the end? Right? So in the same way, I mean, with fiction, it's about crafting a compelling narrative and, you know, building that realistic world, showing the inner world of the characters. And I think the fact that, you know, these stories are based on true events, somewhat true, and true stories, and true events, I think it gives it kind of like tantalizes the reader, right? Mm-hmm. The possibility that, oh wow, could something like this really happen? Or did something like this really happen? So the only 100% true story there is the one about my grandmother, right? So, I mean, even the ending where you know, the narrator and his mother go to this place, right? That really did happen, right? I think, you know, it's that whole Hollywood thing, right? Based on a true story. Although nowadays, like, people understand that based on a true story isn't really based on a true story.
Yeah.
They took a lot of liberties and all that.
Which is admitted usually at the beginning of each movie.
And nowadays, like, they even like sometimes they even play it up, right? They'll say things like, well, it's kind of true, you know?
Yeah.
So in my case, it was about, you know, what were the things that made me, what are the incidents that stay in my mind? What are the things that make me think, wow, I want to find out more, man. What happened here? So another example, right? The Woodcutter.
Yeah.
That's based on a Korean folk tale.
Okay.
That's also included in Epigram's new short story collection.
Okay.
But this one was first published in my book by Marshall Cavendish. So a Korean friend told me, she's half Korean, right? Father is Singaporean. She said that her grandfather was taken away by the Japanese during the war. This is very well documented, like war labor, right? Forced labor, in fact. He was taken away to Japan during the war. And somehow he found his way back after the war. A lot of people didn't, right?
Okay.
They died or they never came back or whatever.
Yeah.
So she was telling me the story about how one day he was drunk and he suddenly blurted out, well, when I was in Japan, I married someone and we had a kid, right? So, and I'm not sure exactly what happened after that, but it was like, and a lot of these things happened during the war. Right? People were separated, people were taken away, and then, they had relationships with whoever. So I heard that, and then I tried to find out more. She wasn't very sure herself, right? And then I took that little anecdote, right? And initially because she used to joke that I can't date Japanese guys. What if one of them is my cousin?
Oh,
right? So initially my idea was like, this character has a cousin in Japan, and then they kind of like have a sort of a long distance connection. But then when I was in Seoul some years back, and then I was asking a Korean friend, where can I find a collection of Korean folk tales? And I didn't have this story in mind at first, right? So she pointed me to this particular collection. And then I read about the woodcutter, which is actually a very famous folk tale in Korea. And then I thought, you know what? I'm going to tell the story of this man through allegory, right? And then I will kind of like flip back and forth between the modern day and this era of the folk tale. But it's an allegory about how he was taken away by the Japanese. And that ending is made up, right? But again, it's about, like I said already, I love folk tales because I think it tells you so much about a particular culture, about the kind of concerns that they had, the things that they value, and all that. So I told the story through that, because also bearing in mind that we hear it all the time, right? People who lived during the war, that particular generation, they find it very hard to talk about what happened, right? That great trauma that they went through. So I thought, allegory would be best. Would be the best way to tell this story.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's next for Nicholas Yong?
Fiction-wise, I haven't really thought about it, man. I mean, I do have some ideas.
Are you working on something now, presently?
Not actively, but I do have some ideas. It's these things that you read about along the way, like little things about, like sometime in the 50s, I think. There was actually a department in the UK. Let me see if I remember this correctly. They actually kept track of people who made predictions about the future. There was an actual government department. So this dude wrote a book about it. So you talk to these people who have predicted and say, oh, well, did it come true? And things like that. And then I started wondering, like, wow, if only we had a department like that here, man.
Maybe we do.
Yeah, well, maybe. Yeah, maybe. What kind of characters would populate this particular department? And urban legends, like the one about the dollar coin, right?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so things like that. And especially Chinese people are so superstitious, right? So it really wouldn't surprise me that much if there actually was some kind of consideration of like feng shui, in building things or making certain decisions. I mean, even something like Suntech.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the palm of the Buddha, right?
Yeah.
So, those kind of things like stay with me and make.
But there is a book, locally written and published years ago
about
feng shui and the infrastructure in Singapore.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah.
So I have
like why our electrical power lines are underground instead of overhead.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me go check that out.
Go check it out, man. Yeah. Kind of interesting. And I think there's, if I can stand corrected, I think there's one about why the esplanade looks like durians.
Maybe there's some spirit involved.
I don't know. I read that book. That was ages ago. But somebody came up with that already. So, but it'd be interesting for you. It could be an interesting source as well for whatever you plan to do. I mean, it sounds interesting. Go check it out, man. Yeah. But where can people go purchase your book 7 sacks of rice and other baggages. Where can I go?
It's available on the Epigram website. It's
Epigram website, people. Yep.
on,
Where else?
Amazon.
Amazon, guys.
I think Kino should still have it.
And Kinokuniya.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
On the
so-
shelves, like Kinokuniya. Online or on the shelves? Both.
I can't remember. I haven't checked in a while.
Safest, go online. Okay. All right. So go get yourself a copy, guys. It's a good read, okay? Kind of fun. So you heard us talk about it. Nicholas very artfully ensured that he didn't really spill everything out in my episode of Ink Spill, so that you can actually buy the book and not be and still yet be surprised by what you find, okay? So go get yourselves a copy. Thanks for being with me, man.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it, mate. Really. And I wish you the best. Okay, everybody. This is the final episode for the Ink Spill series. When we come back next Friday, it will be the long-awaited and the only episode for this season of UFO Reveal Asia. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, have we got lots of crazy shit to tell you. Just give you a hint, yeah? The Americans, well, most of the very important government officers have come out to say, they're here, they're real, we are not alone. So catch me and Ignatius Bong next week for Euphorus. Until then, stay safe, everybody. Same time, same place, same channel, 8 p.m. Friday. Bye-bye. The Chris Hansen Conversation. Real talk, no filters. And a growing community of more than 100,000 subscribers across ASEAN. Right here from Singapore.